Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Here's the headline. How long do you have to be in the military for to be eligible for VA disability benefits? Now, I found this headline and I wanted to read through it with you. See if we can pick out any nuggets, anything new that we didn't know, just kind of run through it. I like to, inspect what I expect, right? I expect it to say certain things and lead people down a certain path in their mind, and we'll see if they do it. Now, this is on marca.com. We'll just jump into it. So hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really do appreciate it. If you want to support the channel in other ways, you can do so by becoming a member. That's very helpful, and I appreciate that so much. It helps me to find you quicker in the comments. You can do that by going to the homepage. You'll see the highlighted members and a join button there. Also, for those that don't know, I created a second channel called Veterans Daily with a co-host, just doing a little more of a dialogue back and forth. Some good content there, a little longer form for you, and there's some good information for you to check out. So Veterans Daily. All right, let's jump into this. So again, how long do you have to be in the military for to be eligible for VA disability benefits? This is from marca.com. It says VA benefits offer help to ex-servicemen. That's what they said. Moving on. To be eligible for VA disability benefits, there isn't a specific length of time you must serve in the military. However, you must have served on active duty and been discharged under conditions other than dishonorable. Marca has all the details, it says here, and so let's read on. Even if you served for a short period, you may still qualify depending on your circumstances and the nature of your disability. Now, I want to just point out, they're specifically talking about disability compensation. There is also VA pension, but VA pension is targeted for war period veterans. So you must have served during a war period, not in war necessarily, but during a war period, and they do have some time qualifiers in there. All right, so moving on. So let's see. So circumstances and the nature of your disability, that will allow people to access benefits regarding healthcare, financial income, education, transportation in order to help improve their own lives and the lives of their family. Goes on to say, what is an honorable discharge? An honorable discharge is a designation given to a service member who has fulfilled their military service obligations with integrity, character, and satisfactory performance. It signifies that the individual has met or exceeded the standards of conduct and performance expected by the military branch in which they served. Now, look, this is going to be a super obvious thing to all of you. However, there may be some who could utilize that information and get a little more information and nuggets out of it, and that would be a surviving spouse whose veteran spouse that passed away did nothing with the VA. They barely talked about their military service, and there could absolutely be certain circumstances, and I'll give you an example, in which that surviving spouse, who the veteran spouse that passed away didn't do anything with the VA, but that surviving spouse could receive dependency indemnity compensation. They could receive VA pension. Of the two, you really would rather have dependency indemnity compensation. It pays more and there's no income limitations. Now, the quick example would be, let's say that there is a Vietnam veteran who passed away, never did anything with the VA. No compensation, no visiting for doctor's appointment, none of that. Just threw the hands in the air and said, I am never going to deal with the government, the VA, the military, any of it ever again, right? And walked away from all of that. So now, military members served, they have an honorable discharge, they pass away. Surviving spouse that has no clue, first of all, what's even out there or available, and hopefully somehow, some way, this video lands in their lap, or they hear something from a friend or what have you. Because there's 5,000 different ways I can slice this, I gotta just pick one. So let's just say that the Vietnam veteran served in Vietnam during the Vietnam War, right? and died from a heart attack. Okay, and that Vietnam veteran had ischemic heart disease, had high blood pressure, hypertension, that type of stuff, right? Presumptive conditions, by the way, for Agent Orange exposure. So now what would happen would be is that the surviving spouse would prove with the DD-214 for the veteran, showing that they served in Vietnam, showing that they had the character of discharge needed, showing that the veteran had, the heart disease or the hypertension or both. Then going to go back to the death certificate, and it may just say heart attack, passed away of a heart attack as the cause of death. There is a spot on the death certificate for contributing cause to death, and you would want to get that amended and add the heart disease and the hypertension, or either one, as a contributing cause to the heart attack. And then you would then file for your dependency indemnity compensation, and you would be granted that. And it pays out anywhere between, $1,600 to, $3,000 depending on circumstances. So pays out higher than that, but for most people it's in between that kind of number, the $1,700 up to around the $3,000 a month tax-free money. So all right, let's jump back into it. So just so everybody's on the same page, when I read something like this, I'm always thinking about who would benefit from hearing that, right? Obviously, the veteran already knows. So who doesn't know is that surviving spouse whose veteran spouse that passed away didn't tell them anything. So, all right, let's jump in. Generally, to receive an honorable discharge, a service member must have completed their term of service or obligation with no significant disciplinary issues or misconduct. This type of discharge is essential for veterans as it ensures they maintain access to various benefits and services provided by the Department of Veterans Affairs. What are VA percentages? Okay, we always hear about the VA percentage. What percentage are you, right? So let's see what they say here about that. VA percentages refer to the disability rating percentages assigned by the Department of Veterans Affairs to veterans who have service-connected disabilities. So again, we're focusing on service-connected disabilities and VA compensation in this article. When a veteran files a claim for disability benefits, the VA evaluates their medical conditions and determines the extent to which the disability or disabilities impair their ability to function in daily life and work. The VA disability rating is expressed as a percentage, typically ranging from 0% to 100% in increments of 10%. A higher percentage indicates a more severe disability. This rating reflects the level of impairment and determines the amount of compensation the veteran is eligible to receive each month. Now, I don't see it here. I did a quick glance. And I'm glad that they put the information out. However, I'm not always that happy when I just hear people talking about the 0 to 100% rating schedule, with 100 being the worst, and they just leave it at that. Because then we, as the readers or the people taking in the information, tend to create our own narrative around the 0 to 100%. And we are typically wrong if we don't have all the information. So to set the record straight, there is more than one rating schedule for VA disability compensation. There's the 0 to 100%, yes. But if you're really messed up, you can slide over to special monthly compensation, SMC rating schedule. Now there's a little hybrid in the middle where you can kind of collect your 100% rating, and you can get a small little add-on for special monthly compensation. But then when you cross the threshold, you don't receive the 0 to 100%. You don't receive the 100% anymore, and you just receive special monthly compensation, which can be tremendously higher than the 100% rating. So it's an important thing to know, because when people don't understand that, they assume that 100% is the absolute maximum and should be reserved for the very, very worst case scenarios of military service, which can be traumatic. It is not for that. The 0 to 100% is kind of like, in my mind, the everybody else. The very traumatic situations would be over on the special monthly compensation side. It's just important to understand so we have the full picture. What happens, right, is if we don't have that full picture, we shortchange ourselves. We tell ourselves that we shouldn't try to get to 100, and those that have 100 are screwing over the system somehow, and that's just simply not true. And I back that up with, just several different claims that can get you to a very high rating, right? You can be rated 50% for migraines. You could be rated 50% in today's world for sleep apnea with a CPAP. You can be rated 60% for GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. It's not uncommon to see a 30, a 50, or a 70% for mental health conditions. Even the 100% standing alone on mental health. So there are definitely ways to get to that 100% without that imagined I have to be missing limbs and be in a very traumatic situation from my military service. Again, that's reserved really for the special monthly compensation rating schedule. So let's jump back into this. I just wanted to clarify some of this. So moving on, the VA takes various factors into account when assigning disability ratings, including medical evidence, the severity of the condition, and how the disability impacts the veteran's ability to work and perform activities of daily life. Veterans can receive compensation for one or more service-connected disabilities, and the total combined rating determines the monthly amount of the benefit. What happens after you serve 4 years in the military? After serving 4 years in the military, several options are available after that, according to this article. Veterans may choose to re-enlist, pursue further education using the GI Bill, transition into the civilian employment, or enter into the Individual Ready Reserve, which is the IRR, which many of us know about. The IRR allows former service members to fulfill the remainder of their military service obligations. Typically, from what I remember, and it's been a while, I did 4 years initially with the Marine Corps active duty, and then I did 4 with IRR, which is nothing. You just have to kind of make sure that they have your information. And then that concluded the contract. I want to say it was 4 years for an 8-year total. I could be wrong, and I don't know if it's changed. So the IRR allows former service members to fulfill the remainder of their military service obligations without being assigned to a specific unit. During this time, they can be called up if needed for national defense purposes. Overall, what happens after 4 years in the military depends on the individual's goals, interests, and circumstances. Some veterans may choose to continue their military career, while others may transition into civilian life or pursue further education or training. And that's where it concludes. And I'll just throw in that, in addition, to the options after your time in service, and not everybody does 4. I mean, like, for example, my oldest son signed up for 6, so I don't know why they're just focused on 4. But in any case, after your time period, what else can you do? You can also transition to the reserve or the National Guard. So for me, I ended up leaving the Marine Corps, and then eventually I went over to the Army National Guard and continued my service there. I didn't want to run 3 miles anymore for my physical fitness test. I was getting older. I had a break in service. So in any case, options, I guess. So the big kind of takeaway here, I guess, is understanding that these are really part of your benefits, is really kind of the underlying message, is it's part of your benefits. And I threw in the additional information about the spouses, surviving spouses. You have benefits too, and you still have benefits even if the veteran spouse who passed away did not utilize their benefits. It's important to know. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.